Good morning, everyone. See, we had started with our discussion on Council of Ministers. Yesterday, the last part of our discussion was parliamentary secretaries. So basically, till now, our discussion has revolved around in this topic, Council of Ministers. Our discussion has revolved around who are Council of Ministers, how they come into existence, what are the cardinal principles of a parliamentary democracy. Then we had come to Council of Ministers. I had made three divisions: cabinet ministers, ministers of state, and then the deputy ministers. Then we had discussed the idea of parliamentary secretaries and how parliamentary secretary, why was first of all they knew this very office was in news. Second of all, we had also discussed that parliamentary secretaries are not the members of Council of Ministers. Clear? Now, the next part of our discussion is the Article 75 of the Constitution. Article 75 of the Constitution specifically deals with two provisions: the idea of individual responsibility and collective responsibility. Individual responsibility and collective responsibility. Though I have already discussed this idea, what is individual responsibility and what is collective responsibility, just a brief discussion that is somehow also needed here is the fact that individual responsibility has been mentioned under Article 75 Clause 2 of the Constitution. Article 75 Clause 2 of the Constitution says that every minister is individually responsible to the President, and they will hold office during the pleasure of the President, which means that individually every minister is responsible to the President, and if the President is basically the one who appoints him and who removes him. So though the Constitution under Article 75 Clause 2 says that they work on the pleasure of the President and they are individually responsible to the President for all practical purposes, this individual responsibility is not to the President, rather it is to the Prime Minister, not to the President, it is to the Prime Minister. Why? Because while appointing the ministers, the ministers are appointed by the President not in his discretion. The ministers are appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. Every minister is appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. So when we talk about the constitutional position, the constitutional position is that every individual minister is individually responsible to the President and works on the pleasure of the President. For all practical purposes, this individual responsibility of the minister lies with the Prime Minister and not with the President. And they they hold office not during the pleasure of the President, rather during the pleasure of the Prime Minister. This is the constitutional position is that under Article 75, they are individually responsible to the President. But because the advice of the Prime Minister is available to the President for all practical purposes, this is not the President, rather it is the Prime Minister. Okay? However, if the question comes, the fact is what has been written under Article 75 Clause 2. What is the fact? It says they are individually responsible to the President and not to the Prime Minister. What did I say? For all practical purposes. for all practical purposes, not for factual purposes. For all practical purposes, this responsibility lies with that of the Prime Minister and not the President. Clear? Now, the idea of collective responsibility, this has been mentioned under Article 75. This has also been mentioned under Article 75 of the Constitution. And what does it say? The Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. They are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. So, you generally get this question as a statement in this manner, that the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the Parliament. That is wrong. The Council of Ministers are only collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha, not to the Parliament. They are not responsible to the Parliament, only they are responsible to the Lok Sabha. Clear? We had also discussed the basic idea of collective responsibility. That is, the provisions of the Constitution are such mentioned that the decisions that are taken by the Council of Ministers, once the decision has been taken by the Council of Ministers, it becomes the responsibility of each and every Council of Minister to defend that decision inside as well as outside the Parliament. Inside the Parliament as well as outside the Parliament. Now, when we say collective responsibility, why only to the Lok Sabha? Because how is the Council of Ministers formed? Council of Ministers are formed by a political party or by a coalition of political parties which comes to power in the Lok Sabha. They get the majority of the Lok Sabha. So when their formation is only dependent upon Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha has nothing to do with the formation of Council of Ministers, how can the Rajya Sabha ensure the accountability of the Council of Ministers? The Rajya Sabha therefore cannot ensure the accountability, because how are the Council of Ministers formed? Council of Ministers are formed by any political party or a coalition of political parties which comes to power in the Lok Sabha. Recently, elections happened, the general elections took place and the results were declared. When we say general elections took place, which house? Now, which house did we actually elect? We elected the Lok Sabha, not the Rajya Sabha. We elected only the Lok Sabha, not the Rajya Sabha, because when we come later on as a part of our discussion in the when we come to the Parliament, you will find that the Lok Sabha is directly elected by the people, whereas the Rajya Sabha is indirectly elected. So any Council of Ministers that come into existence, the Council of Ministers come into existence because they enjoy majority in the Lok Sabha, not in the Rajya Sabha. They enjoy majority in the Lok Sabha. So because their formation, the formation is the result of majority in the Lok Sabha, that is the reason why they are only accountable to the Lok Sabha and not to the Rajya Sabha. They are only accountable to the Lok Sabha and not to the Rajya Sabha. And democratic norms do not dictate this idea that the Council of Ministers are accountable to both the houses or responsible to both the houses. Democratic norms do not dictate that idea. Why do we have the Rajya Sabha? Rajya Sabha exists because we are a federal country. We are a federal country, and this very existence of India being a federation mandates an upper house. Otherwise, even if we have Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha is working, that is fine. Then India will not be considered as a non-democratic country because we have directly elected people and they are representing us. Lok Sabha represents the whole of the country. So Rajya Sabha that is there, Rajya Sabha is in existence, Rajya Sabha comes into existence, Rajya Sabha works as, technically speaking, what? Council of State. So the principle of federation that we follow, that federation principle mandates the existence of Rajya Sabha, not democratic norms. Democratic norms do not mandate the existence of Rajya Sabha. Federation mandates that. If we do not have a Rajya Sabha, India cannot claim to be a federal country. But it is not that India cannot claim to be a democratic country. That is not the case. In fact, when we discuss the Rajya Sabha, I am also going to talk about a house called as House of Commons and House of Lords in UK. And you will find that though in UK they have an upper house called as House of Lords, but this house does not enjoy any powers. It does not enjoy any kind of powers. Because it does not enjoy any kind of power, we cannot claim UK to be a federal country. It is a unitary country. Clear? So the democratic norms do not mandate this idea of the existence of Rajya Sabha. But democratic norms definitely mandates that the Council of Ministers that are formed, the Council of Ministers are accountable to the democratically elected house. And that democratically elected house is which? The Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha is the democratically elected house. Clear? And that is the reason why collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers is to the Lok Sabha and not to the Rajya Sabha. Clear? So in the formation of the Council of Ministers, Rajya Sabha does not play any role, and hence the Council of Ministers are only accountable to the Lok Sabha. I have also discussed the Rajya Sabha does not mandate the principle of democracy, it only mandates that India is a federation. Clear? Why do we need collective responsibility? We need collective responsibility because in a parliamentary system, the executive is a plural body. It's not a singular body like in that of a presidential system. In a presidential system, what happens? There is one president. He is the executive head. That is not the case when it comes to a parliamentary system. In a parliamentary system, you have written before also that the executive powers, the real executive power lies with the Council of Ministers. So there is, this is a plural body. Now there are number of ministers who are a part of Council of Ministers. Yesterday we saw the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act also, and accordingly there is the 15% limit that has been prescribed, which means in India there can be on the upper limit of it is somewhere around 80 members. And this 80 member body that is there, they enjoy real executive powers. Clear? Now, why do we have collective responsibility? We have collective responsibility because if these 80 members, if they do not act with purpose and have a single direction, it might lead to what? It might lead to the very country's administration suffering. There will be no direction to the country's administration. There is no direction then. So what happens is that if you look at the setup is this, that there are 80 members, somewhere around 80 members who are the part of Council of Ministers, and then there is the what is called as a permanent bureaucracy, that is civil servants. They are civil servants, they are not elected. They get appointed through merit. They get appointed through merit. So there is a wide section, there is a wide set of individuals who help these temporary executives. Council of Ministers being temporary. Why? 5 years. After 5 years, they may or may not come to office, but that is not the case when it comes to the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is permanent. Once you get into the service, you will be there unless you retire from service. It is a permanent service. So these 80 members who have formed the part of Council of Ministers, so that they are able to provide proper direction to the permanent executive, that is bureaucracy, so that they can ensure that the direction that is given by this Council of Ministers, they have a purpose and serves the people. providing a certain direction to how the administration or the bureaucracy works. That is the reason why we have the principle of collective responsibility. That is the reason why we have this principle of collective responsibility. And yesterday we also discussed Article 78 of the Constitution, which mandates that if the President feels that a particular decision of the Council of Ministers have not been collectively considered by the Council of Ministers, then he can refer that decision to the collective consideration of the Council of Ministers. Clear? So, this is how collective responsibility works. We have already discussed this, but I wanted to give you a better idea about this, so I have discussed this again. Clear? Next comes the office of the Prime Minister. Yes. See, practical purposes, I mean, what do I mean by practical purpose? Now, we already know what is the constitutional position of the President. He is only a nominal head. So, he does not enjoy any effective powers, even when it comes to appointment of the ministers. Who basically appoints them? Oath is administered by the President. So, we say that it is the President who appoints the ministers. But for all practical purposes, the President does not enjoy any discretionary powers here. The President does not enjoy any discretionary powers. The Council of Ministers are appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. So, when we say individual responsibility, constitutionally speaking, Article 75 of the Constitution says that they are individually responsible to whom? The President. But though the Constitution says President, but for all practical purposes, this responsibility lies with whom? The Prime Minister. Because if the Prime Minister feels that this Council of Ministers is not, the Council of Ministers is not working well, in that case, he will advise the President, remove this individual, and the President will have to remove that. There is no choice that the President enjoys. So, we say for all practical purposes, factually, yes, it is the President, but for all practical purposes, individual responsibility of a minister is that with the Prime Minister and not with the President. This is what I mean. Clear? Absolutely, there should not be any confusion. This question is repetitive in nature. Number of times it has been asked if you go through your previous year papers. So, you should be very clear. In prelims, whenever you are writing about this, always mark that particular option which says that individual responsibility of the Council of Ministers lie to the President. That is the correct option. Clear? Now, we come to the office of the Prime Minister. The only debate that we need to have here is looking at the constitutional position of the Prime Minister. Constitutional position of the Prime Minister. So, the debate is about what is the position of the Prime Minister, because there is a phrase that is generally accepted with respect to what is the position of the Prime Minister, and it says that Prime Minister in a parliamentary democracy, Prime Minister is the primus inter pares, that is first among the equals. First among the equals. So, as we said, in a parliamentary democracy, the executive power lies with a body, Council of Ministers. It does not say that the power lies with the Prime Minister. It says executive powers will lie with the Council of Ministers. So while discussing the constitutional position, we need to answer this very question, that can we consider the Prime Minister to be the first but among the equals? That means, does the other Council of Ministers, do they enjoy the similar position to that of the Prime Minister? Or is the office of the Prime Minister, the individual who holds the office of the Prime Minister, is he special in any way compared to that of other Council of Ministers? Clear? Are you getting this idea? So you will see Article 74. What does Article 74 say? Yes, there shall be a Council of Ministers. So it does not say there shall be only a Prime Minister. It says there shall be a Council of Ministers. There shall be a Council of Ministers to aid and advise, headed by the Prime Minister, but to Council of Ministers to aid and advise the President. So the question that comes up is that when we look at the constitutional position of the Prime Minister, so is the constitutional position of the Prime Minister similar to that of other Council of Ministers? Is he, as you can see, among equals? So are all the Council of Ministers equal? Or is the Prime Minister, the authority that the Prime Minister has, or this office, is this office special, different from that of the others? The question that is there is this very idea. Now, what do you think? Constitutionally speaking, what do you think? Is the Prime Minister, first among the equals, or is the Prime Minister special? First among the equals, yes. What are the reasons why you say this? देखो गला खराब है मेरा.
So there is no difference between Council of Ministers and Prime Minister constitutionally.
Constitutionally, there is no difference. What aspect of the Constitution are you referring to? Why are you saying this? कुछ तो reason होगा. Headed by the Prime Minister. Okay. Come. So according to you, the Prime Minister is special, or is he equal? First among the equals. Okay. You quote Article 74 of the Constitution. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Or if you say that if you don't agree to this idea that he is first among the equals, and you feel that the office of the Prime Minister is a special office, then what are the reasons why you feel that? He cannot take decisions individually, okay? बिल्कुल सही हो सकता है रीजन that if you look at the decisions, when I introduced the idea of cabinet, what did I say? Before taking any important decision, there is a cabinet meeting and the cabinet agrees to it. The Prime Minister does not take a particular decision exclusively. That does not happen. Yes. Anything else? Any other reason? Multiple ministries come under the Prime Minister. No. Under the PMO कह रहे हो या under the Prime Minister? Under the PMO? No. Under the Prime Minister's office, the office is only discharging the duties of an individual who is holding the position of the Prime Minister. There are no ministries under the PMO.
PM is more responsible.
More responsible? कैसे? Will you? Yes. क्या कह रहे? He leads the government. How? How does he provide leadership? That is the question. Why do you think that the office of the Prime Minister is special when compared to the other ministers? Who can be the other ministers? Yes, this can be definitely a reason that it is the Prime Minister who advises the President to appoint ministers, other ministers. That can be one of the reasons. Yes, appointment and removal. Appointment and removal. Anything else? Only because the Prime Minister can recommend for appointment and removal of a minister, his office becomes special. If the Prime Minister resigns, the Council of Ministers dissolve. And if a minister resigns, what happens then? Yes? Nothing will happen. Yes. This is also one of the reasons. More importantly, when the Prime Minister resigns or passes away, the Council of Ministers go out of office. Yes. Formation of the Council of Ministers. What did I say yesterday? I said, how does the Council of Ministers come into existence? The Prime Minister taking oath. So formation of the Council of Ministers is dependent upon what? The Prime Minister taking oath. Yes. फर्स्ट अमंग द इक्वल से कोई आ नहीं रहा है, कोई इधर इस तरफ कोई पॉइंट्स नहीं आ रहा है. Why are you saying first among the equals? You said first among the equals. Back your statement. What did he? Because Vallabhbhai Patel said so to Nehru. It should be a consultative idea. Okay, I'll revise your statement. Yes. Anything else? Anything else that you see, or anything else that we have already discussed that you can contribute, either saying that he is first among the equals, or he is what you can say special, he is more than equal. He allocates the portfolios among other ministers. No. Allocation of portfolio is done by the president. You know, when you are taking oath, when you are taking oath as a minister, as a cabinet minister, or for that matter as a minister of state, so you take oath, that is done by the president, not by the prime minister. Yes. Yes. He governs the whole country. And the Council of Ministers वो क्या करते हैं फिर? Do Council of Ministers, don't the Council of Ministers also do that? Govern the whole country. Every minister has a specific area. If you say, now if you see the new Council of Ministers that was formed in 2019, आप ये देखो, Prime Minister is nowhere to be seen. वो तो अमित शाह ने hijack कर लिया है. The ministries, it has been hijacked. So how can you say that it is only the Prime Minister who governs the country and not other ministers? Every minister has a portfolio, and in terms of their portfolio, it is the concerned minister who heads that. So whenever it comes to things such as law and order, etc., you will always find that it is the Home Minister responsible for it. Who will be the leader is chosen by the Council of Ministers. अगर नहीं, आप जो बोल रहे, अगर मैं ये कहूँ कि just for a moment, just assume this, जब जनरल इलेक्शंस में हमने वोट किया, तो क्या हमने सिर्फ उस कैंडिडेट को वोट किया who was contesting from the, suppose the position of a particular in a constituency from a political party? Did we only vote for that individual? नहीं. देखो, आज in this general election or in the last general elections, you will find that an individual who has contested from the office of, from this party's ticket, BJP, वो invariably जीत गया. My constituency, in my constituency, West Delhi, the individual who actually contested elections from the ticket of the political party, वो थे हंसराज हंस. Before, no, when it was about to be announced, that means when the nomination papers were to be filed, उससे 7 days, just 7 days before that nomination paper, he was declared as the candidate. He is not a resident of my constituency, but he is still able to win. He was still able to win, and that too by not a small margin. He was able to win by more than 5 lakh votes. Do you think we just voted for him? So if you say that we are not the ones who elect the Prime Minister for whatever, now yes, you are right in this context that we elect an individual, but don't we elect a political party to govern the country? So how can you say this? The Prime Minister. So that proves that Prime Minister is first. He is not the first among equals. He is more than an equal, because the cabinet is the highest decision making body in India. And who heads the cabinet? It is the Prime Minister who heads the cabinet. Absolutely yes. Article 78. Under Article 78 of the Constitution, who has been given the duty to inform the President about the administration of the country or intended legislations? It is the Prime Minister. Why not in Article 78 it is just mentioned that any of the Council of Ministers, if all the Council of Ministers were equal to that of the Prime Minister, so anyone could have done this. But why is it that it is the Prime Minister who has been given this duty? It points out to the fact that the Prime Minister is more than an equal. In fact, if you go back to our discussion when I was introducing the topic President, what did I say? President enjoys 2 kinds of constitutional relationship. One is with the Parliament and the other is with the Council of Ministers. And how does this constitutional relationship work? Go back to the discretionary powers of the President. We said Article 78, he has the right to be informed. Second, he has the right to warn, and he has the right to encourage the Council of Ministers. So, if you look at Article 78 of the Constitution, this Article 78 of the Constitution envisages the Prime Ministers to be a link between the President and the Council of Ministers. This duty is not performed by any other individual, not the Home Minister, not the Defence Minister, not the External Affairs Minister. It is this particular duty is being performed by the Prime Minister. So the Constitution under Article 78 specifically says that this is the duty of the Prime Minister. It gives a special role to the Prime Minister. Not just that. Now, if you look at the other ideas, when we talk about the Parliament, whenever we talk about the Parliament, you will find that the major policies of the government is announced either on the floor of the Parliament or outside the Parliament. By whom? It is the Prime Minister who does that. It is generally the Prime Minister who does that. So what happens? The Prime Minister also acts as the chief spokesperson for the government. When we talk about the working of the Parliament, if you look at how the Parliament works, so if you look at the other ministers, other Council of Ministers that are there, if you look at the nature of questions that are asked from these ministers, the nature of questions are that it will relate only to the concerned ministry that is held by the minister. However, when it comes to the questions that are asked from the Prime Minister, it may not necessarily just be of something or the ministries that are being held by the Prime Minister. It is on overall functioning of the government. So who acts as the chief spokesperson and the chief representatives of the government? It is the Prime Minister who does that. When you said that the Prime Minister has some additional duties, or he discharges his duties under the PMO, no. The Prime Minister not only works in the PMO, there is also something called as a Cabinet Secretariat, and the Prime Minister works in the Cabinet Secretariat as well as the Central Secretariat. Metro station, Central Secretariat. What is it? Central Secretariat. What is the Secretariat? Secretariat is basically an office where all the ministers, all the ministers have their office. The Prime Minister, in addition to being or acting as the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister is also given the responsibilities of some ministries that are directly held by the Prime Minister. So he also discharges those duties. In fact, the Prime Minister is also considered to be the residual legatee, which means any business that does not fall under the purview of any minister, it automatically falls with whom? It automatically is there with the Prime Minister. He is the residual legatee as well. Whenever it comes to the main provisions of the budget or main provisions of other policies and programs, who is questioned? The Prime Minister. The opposition members generally direct their question to the Prime Minister, not to the other ministers. Generally, it is the Prime Minister who is the target of these questions. So, Prime Minister has that special role. Similarly, when it comes to, when you said allocation of portfolios, no. Portfolios, that means a particular individual, whether he is a cabinet minister or not, this oath of office is held by the President. But when it comes to allocation of business, that means what responsibilities a particular minister has, that is decided by the Prime Minister. Not only is that decided by the Prime Minister, the overall responsibility to coordinate the activities of the Council of Ministers lies with that of the Prime Minister. Other ministers, they are responsible for their own activities. That means they have a portfolio and they work in accordance to what that portfolio dictates. So a Home Minister will always be responsible for the home affairs. So dealing with law and order, dealing with such ideas, only that. But the Prime Minister is responsible for he has the overall responsibility. Similarly, when it comes to the Prime Minister, in the cabinet, only the Prime Minister has the authority to call for information from the various ministers. Only the Prime Minister can direct a minister to be present and give necessary information. No other minister, whether he is a cabinet minister or a part of the council, enjoys such an authority. So from the formation to the end, if you look at who actually enjoys this position, though we say parliamentary form of government, in a parliamentary form of government, the Prime Minister is described as the primus inter pares, but he actually is not just the primus inter pares. No, he is more than that. He is not the first among the equals. In fact, we generally declare the Prime Minister of the country to be the most important political office. It is the Prime Minister, being the Prime Minister, who is the most important, who is holding the most important political office. So rather than describing him as a primus inter pares, he can be better known as not just the first among the equals, but he is definitely enjoying a position of the chief or the most important political position of the country. So he cannot just be compared to the other Council of Ministers. Clear? Whether it comes to the formation of Council of Ministers or for that matter any other way or the manner in which the Council of Ministers work. So if we look at the constitutional position of the Prime Minister, constitutional position of the Prime Minister is much more than the it is much more important, or at least it is much more decorative than the constitutional position of the other Council of Ministers. But always remember that this is not always the case. Yes, formation and when we talk about formation of the Council of Ministers, formation of the Council of Ministers is definitely dependent upon the Prime Minister. Even it so happens that the Prime Minister acts as the head of the cabinet, but it also depends upon the political position of the Prime Minister. If the position of if the political position of the Prime Minister is very strong, in that case he becomes more than an equal. However, if the political position of the Prime Minister is not very strong, he acts as one of the equals. The example of it is, if you look at India's constitutional history or India's political history, you will find this. If we see Jawaharlal Nehru did not enjoy absolute power in the cabinet. He shared his powers with other individuals, one of them being Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also enjoyed almost a similar position to that of Nehru when it comes to the first cabinet. When we come to Indira Gandhi was definitely more than an equal. So no other Council of Ministers was as powerful as as Indira Gandhi. And the example of it was that when India was contemplating this idea of in 1968 of NPT, that is Non-Proliferation Treaty. So when it was proposed in the UN, Non-Proliferation Treaty was proposed in the UN for signatures. In that case, who represented India in this argument? It was not a minister. It was not a minister who represented. It was not the External Affairs Minister who represented India. It was the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister. So Indira Gandhi controlled the administration, the activities of all the cabinet ministers to such an extent wherein the PMO became the PMO was all powerful. In fact, it was said that Prime Ministers, then it was known as Prime Minister's Secretariat, not Prime Minister's Office, it was called as Prime Minister's Secretariat. And it was said that Prime Minister's Secretariat is where the policy making is done in India during Indira Gandhi. And the other ministries that are there, they are just implementing whatever Indira Gandhi had to say. So there was absolute concentration of powers. There was absolute concentration of powers during the tenure of Indira Gandhi. And that was also the case when it came to Rajiv Gandhi. Because Rajiv Gandhi was an unquestioned leader in the Congress. The Congress party, when it contested election under the leadership of Rajiv Gandhi, they actually got more than 400 seats in the Lok Sabha. So no one could question, no other minister could question the authority, political authority of the Prime Minister. And that is the reason why he was more than an equal. But when the coming up of 1989 in India, we stepped into something called as a coalition era. And in this coalition era, can we say that the Prime Minister enjoyed the similar political positions? No. VP Singh, when VP Singh became the Prime Minister, VP Singh did not enjoy the same kind of position as that of the Indira Gandhi or for that matter Rajiv Gandhi. That did not happen. Why? Because there was a coalition government. There was a coalition government, and left parties and right parties, they also enjoyed, if not the same, almost similar position to that of the Prime Minister. Similarly, when we look at the era of coalition politics, like if we talk about I.K. Gujral or H.D. Dev Gowda, these were the certain individuals who became the Prime Minister of Prime Ministers of India, Chandrasekhar, etc. If you look at them and if you look at their political position, I.K. Gujral why was I.K. Gujral chosen as the Prime Minister? He was chosen as the Prime Minister not because he enjoyed that kind of political authority. It is just because no one would disagree to his name. Yes, that was the reason. I.K. Gujral became the Prime Minister of India in the context wherein the next Prime Minister was to be Mulayam Singh Yadav. Mulayam Singh Yadav came very close to becoming the Prime Minister, but the left parties at the last moment, there was an individual in the left party, he did not agree with the kind of politics that was done by Mulayam Singh Yadav. There were a number of cases in which violence, etc. was there, and that is the reason why at last moment his name was withdrawn. And why did I.K. Gujral become the Prime Minister? Because no one disagreed to his name. Why did H.D. Dev Gowda become the Prime Minister? Because in the Congress party, no one disagreed to his name. No one disagreed to his name, and because he will never have the capacity to centralize political power. He did not have that kind of a reach to centralize political power. I.K. Gujral was what? I.K. Gujral was a member of he was a civil servant. He was a civil servant and he worked very closely with Indira Gandhi. Because he worked very closely with Indira Gandhi, post-retirement, he joined the Congress party. But he was never a political personality. P.V. Narasimha Rao similarly had minority government. He was in minority government, he was in minority support, and that is the reason why during his prime ministership, you will find there were problems such as demolition of Babri Masjid. It happened during the prime ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao. He was blamed for it. There are a lot of political gossips with respect to what P.V. Narasimha Rao, what was P.V. Narasimha Rao's role. There were some individuals who said that it was because of P.V. Narasimha Rao, Babri Masjid was demolished. Because when this was happening, so it is said that उन्होंने अपने आप को कमरे में बंद कर लिया था और पूजा कर रहे थे. Yes, this is a story that floats. So if you look at the different prime ministers, similarly when we talk about Atal Bihari Vajpayee, now Atal Bihari Vajpayee enjoyed unquestioned leadership, despite the fact that he was in a coalition government and there were 23 political parties that supported, 23 political parties that was in a coalition with the BJP. That was the reason why the BJP could come to power. But Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the kind of political personality that he was, and that is the reason why if you look at during his time, though there did not exist, the Prime Minister was not everything, but he was also not a very, what you can say, weak Prime Minister. He was a strong Prime Minister. Similarly, if we talk about Manmohan Singh, he was a very weak Prime Minister. Manmohan Singh was a very weak Prime Minister because there were some unconstitutional authorities. They were enjoying political powers indirectly. There was a body that was in existence in UPA 1 called as National Advisory Body, NAC, National Advisory Council. This National Advisory Council was headed by Sonia Gandhi. And what was the role of National Advisory Council? Every file that was signed in any ministry was first sent to the National Advisory Council. It was first agreed there and then it was sent back. And only then the Prime Minister had the go to sign it. He was a weak Prime Minister because of the political authority or lack of political authority that he had. Manmohan Singh was not even a member of Lok Sabha. He was a member of Rajya Sabha. He was an indirectly elected candidate and not the member of Lok Sabha. It's not to say that it is always the member of Lok Sabha who enjoys greater authority. That's also not the case. Why? Because during the second term as the Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi also was from the Rajya Sabha. She was a member of Rajya Sabha, but she enjoyed that kind of a power. And if we come to the current age of Prime Ministership in the first NDA, that is 2014 to 2019, the Prime Minister was an unquestioned leader. That the Prime Minister was an unquestioned, even today he is an unquestioned leader, but he shares his political authority with Amit Shah. Yes, but if you look at the previous government, that was not the case, and even today it can be considered that he's not first among the equals. Whatever decisions he takes, that decision can automatically, though yes, individually they do not take Prime Minister does not take the decision individually, but if he takes a decision, it is likely to be the decision of the cabinet. It's very unlikely that the cabinet disagrees with the decisions of the Prime Minister. It is the Prime Minister because of which the political party has gained electoral victory and they have come to power. It is because of our Prime Minister. So if you look at the kind of political authority, whether the Prime Minister is first among the equals or not, it is also dependent upon the kind of political authority that the Prime Minister enjoys. If he is a very strong political personality and enjoys that kind of authority, he is more than the equal. But if he does not enjoy the same kind of authority, it is very likely that the other members of the cabinet, they also share the political authority with the Prime Minister. These two forms of government is called as Prime Ministerial form of government, when the Prime Minister enjoys unquestioned power, and Cabinet form of government, when the Prime Minister is not as strong as the Prime Minister in the Prime Ministerial form of government. Clear? This is the role of the Prime Minister. Write this down. Constitutional position of the Prime Minister. Even though the Prime Minister is called primus inter pares, that is first among the equals, in practice, he is above all other ministers. Under Article 74 of the Constitution, it states, there shall be a council of ministers. Headed by the Prime Minister. Therefore, without the Prime Minister to head the Council of Ministers, the Council of Ministers cannot exist. And discharge its functions. The Prime Minister is central to the formation. Functioning and the death of Council of Ministers. That means the body. Death of the Council of Ministers. When the Prime Minister resigns or passes away, the entire Council of Ministers go out of office. However, when an individual minister resigns, it has no effect. Except for formation of a vacancy. It is the Prime Minister who advises the President, for the appointment of Council of Ministers, and distributes business among the Council of Ministers. He alone, as a matter of right, can call for information from any ministry, and the Prime Minister coordinates the activities of various ministries. It is the Prime Minister who heads the cabinet, convenes the cabinet and decides its agenda. It is therefore the Prime Minister who gives direction to the administration of the country by helping to shape the decisions of the cabinet. He participates in deliberations of the parliament. In the deliberations of the parliament on issues relating to any ministry, It is also the duty of only the Prime Minister to meet the President and inform him about the affairs of administration. In this capacity, he acts as the chief link between the Council of Ministers and the President, and the Council of Ministers and the Parliament. It is the Prime Minister who announces major policy decisions of the cabinet in and outside the parliament. It is the Prime Minister who practically enforces collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers. Therefore, the office of the Prime Minister is the most important political authority. Office of the Prime Minister is the most important political authority in the country. Give a subheading, right? Prime Ministerial form of government. Prime Ministerial form of government. I think it was in 2011, there was a question asked on Prime Ministerial form of government, and most of those who were writing mains, they wrote about parliamentary form of government. There are differences between the meaning of the term Prime Ministerial form of government and parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government simply means, if you remember, the three cardinal principles that we were talking about. Prime Ministerial form of government means the Prime Minister is the head, unquestioned political authority, and it is the Prime Minister who guides the administration of the country. So remember, if ever a term comes, parliamentary form of government, so you will have to then write about parliamentary form of government. If the term is Prime Ministerial form of government, it means it is, parliamentary form of government can also be divided into two. First is the Prime Ministerial form of government, wherein the Prime Minister is the all-powerful political authority, unquestioned leader. He has centralization of powers. On the other hand, there is another kind of another form of government that may be in existence within the parliamentary form of government, that is called as cabinet form of government, wherein the Prime Minister is not all powerful. He shares his political authority with either the members of the coalition or the members of his own political party. Clear? So what is Prime Ministerial form of government? When the Prime Minister enjoys absolute centralization of powers. The powers is concentrated with the Prime Minister. He is the one who has led the political party. He is the one who has led the political party to electoral victory. It is the Prime Minister whose decisions are automatically, they become the decisions of the cabinet. And the Prime Minister is an absolute despot. Do you know what is the meaning of this idea, despotism? Despotism means concentration of powers. So the Prime Minister, the office of the Prime Minister is a despot here, wherein there is absolute concentration of powers. Clear? Write this. Prime Ministerial form of government. It is a form of government. It is a form of government in which the Prime Minister dominates over the Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister dominates over the Council of Ministers. This type of government is formed. This type of government is formed when there is a single party majority government. Single party majority government. Single party majority government in power. The Prime Minister is the unquestionable leader. The Prime Minister is the unquestionable leader of his party. It is because of the Prime Minister, his political party has achieved electoral victory. His political party has achieved electoral victory. The decisions of the Prime Minister is generally approved by the cabinet. What can be the merits and demerits of this system? If you look at the Prime Ministerial form of government, what can be the merits and demerits of this system? Pehle merits. What do you think is a merit of this kind of system? Yes? Decision. Decision making is really facilitated. Why? Because only there is only one individual, and whatever decisions he takes, it generally becomes the decision of the cabinet. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. If not, what can be the what you can say demerits here? Excessive centralization. Okay. Arbitrariness. Okay. No diversification in views. Why is that a problem? Don't you think it will delay decision making? Taking wrong decisions can be more problematic. Yes. Anything else? Yes. Not dictatorship. That will not be the correct term to use. Yes. See, policy decisions, this very positive that there are speedy decisions because decisions are generally dependent upon one individual, this itself is a demerit. Why? Because then policy decisions are taken with less deliberation rather than saying diversification of views, because diversification of views are, as it is not allowed, collective responsibility, the idea of collective responsibility. What you can say is decisions are taken without due deliberation, and sometimes decisions are taken only to strengthen the political position of the Prime Minister. They are taken only to strengthen the political position of the Prime Minister. That is something that happens. Not only this, sometimes if an individual is close to the Prime Minister, despite the fact that the individual may not be the member of legislature or may not be the member of Council of Ministers, he would still enjoy powers because he is close to the Prime Minister. Like the example of what happened during emergencies when Sanjay Gandhi used to enjoy almost similar power to that of the Prime Minister. No, he used to enjoy similar powers, and because he is not the member of Council of Ministers, that individual is not the member of Council of Minister, he may not be the member of Council of Minister, so the individual is not the member of Council of Ministers, so he is not responsible to the legislature, but he is enjoying some powers. That should not be the case. So some extra constitutional authorities may come to enjoy powers in a prime ministerial form of government. This is the best example of it, is what happened during emergencies. When Sanjay Gandhi was enjoying powers, despite the fact that neither Sanjay Gandhi was a member of Council of Ministers, and when you are not the member of Council of Ministers, you cannot take executive decisions. The executive decisions are the prerogative of the Council of Ministers, headed by the Prime Minister. So even if those decisions backfire or those decisions are not correct decisions, so the questions that are raised, those questions are raised with whom? Those questions are raised with the Prime Minister or the Council of Ministers. So you have responsibility, you have authority, but you are not accountable. You have authority without accountability. That is not correct. Clear? So if you look at the positives, the positives is with respect to decision making. Now when it comes to crisis like situation, or when it comes to decisions that needs to be taken, there is a clear decision making, there is no problem with that. And second of all, because of this decision making, the administration of the country gets a clear direction that this is where we need to work. But there are some negatives also. Without due deliberation, decisions are taken without due deliberation. Sometimes decisions are taken just to strengthen the political position of the Prime Minister, and in certain occasions even some extra constitutional authorities may enjoy some powers which it should not have. Why? Because they are not accountable to the legislature. Clear? Write down. Merits. That is a part of nepotism. First, Decisions are taken on time. First is advantages. We are dealing with advantages. Decisions are taken on time. Second, the government is able to act. The government is able to act firmly during the period of crisis. Firmly during the period of crisis. And third, the administration gets clear direction for governance. Disadvantages: policy decisions may be hasty without due deliberation. Second, policy decisions may be politically motivated to strengthen the position of the Prime Minister. And third, extra constitutional authorities may enjoy governmental powers without being accountable. A different version of the parliamentary form of government, a different version is something called as cabinet form of government. Cabinet form of government. It is absolutely, you can say, in contrast to what is the prime ministerial form of government. So there the Prime Minister enjoys unquestioned authority. Here that does not happen. Clear? So what is it? You can write. It is a form of parliamentary form of government. It is a form of parliamentary form of government in which the cabinet overshadows the position of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister may be in a position to influence the decisions. The Prime Minister may be in a position to influence the decisions, but not override them. This type of government is formed when the Prime Minister shares his political authority within his party, or there is a coalition government that is formed, What do you think are merits and demerits of this system? All those which are demerits in the prime ministerial form of government are the merits of a cabinet form of government, and those which are merits of the prime ministerial form of government are demerits in the cabinet form of government. Clear? So these are in contrast to each other. So those are merits there, they become demerits here, and those points which we discussed as demerits there, they are the merits here. Clear? This is two versions of what kind of political authority the Prime Minister has, and depending upon that political authority, a different two types of government that generally come into existence within parliamentary form of government. Clear? Now, because we are talking about types of government, so we have already seen prime ministerial form. We have also seen now what is called as the cabinet form of government. So now, in constitutionally speaking or technically speaking, there are some types of governments that are formed, that are described, and you need to know them. Clear? So you just give a subheading here, and write types of government. Types of government. First type is called as caretaker government. Caretaker government. What is a caretaker government? Caretaker government is formed when the Council of Ministers do not enjoy the majority or confidence of the Lok Sabha. It's like a transitional government from one Council of Ministers to the other, till the time the Lok Sabha is dissolved and a new political party comes into existence or gets the majority in the Lok Sabha. Why do we have a caretaker government? Because we know the constitutional position of the president. What did in the UN Rao case, UN Rao versus Indira Gandhi 1971 case, what did the Supreme Court say? Supreme Court said that it is constitutional imperative for the president to have a council of ministers. The office of the president cannot exist without the office of the council of ministers, and that is the reason why we have a caretaker government. Clear? That is the only reason why we have a caretaker government. Under our constitution, there is no provision wherein if the council of ministers do not enjoy the majority, so at that particular time the president starts enjoying the executive powers. There is no such provision. We are a parliamentary form of government. In a parliamentary form of government, it is always the council of ministers who are the executives and not the it's not the president. Clear? Write this. It is a form of government. It is a form of government it is a form of government which comes into existence when the council of ministers loses the confidence of the Lok Sabha, or the Prime Minister resigns or passes away in office. Prime Minister resigns or passes away in office. The Constitution mandates that there shall always be a council of ministers. There shall always be a council of ministers to aid and advise the president. That is, the office of the president cannot exist and be functional without a council of ministers. Therefore, the need for a caretaker government. Though, if you remember, when we were talking about discretionary powers of the president, we did talk about caretaker government. However, in the time of crisis, suppose there is a caretaker government that is there, and during this particular time of caretaker government, suppose there is a time of crisis that emerges. In that case, this caretaker government enjoys all powers of what you can say normal government. Clear? That means the Council of Ministers, despite the fact that they are not enjoying the confidence of the Lok Sabha, they will still enjoy the power to make policies to deal with that very crisis. The example of it was during the Kargil crisis. during the Kargil crisis, the government did not enjoy the confidence of the Lok Sabha. Atal Bihari Vajpayee did not enjoy the confidence of the Lok Sabha, but he still enjoyed executive powers. Clear? If you ever, search there were different speeches that were given by Atal Bihari Vajpayee in the parliament, and in one of his speeches when we actually tested nuclear weapons, so there was lot of criticism that how can you have nuclear weapons, etc., etc. During that period also he did not enjoy the confidence of the Lok Sabha. He actually tested nuclear weapons. We tested nuclear weapons, and almost in the very vicinity of it, he resigned as the Prime Minister because he did not have the confidence of the House. So he tested nuclear weapons, he resigned. So in times of crisis, the government enjoys same kind of, even a caretaker government enjoys same kind of authority that otherwise a government will enjoy. Clear? Next, interim government. Interim government. Yes, what is an interim government? Has India ever had an interim government? Before the constitution was enforced. Before that, 1946, yes. Interim government is a government that is formed for transitional phase, and India was undergoing a transition from the British India to a dominion of India and then to an independent India. So during this transitional phase, the government that is formed is called as interim government. And this government has primarily the duty of ensuring smooth transition from one stage of a country to the other. So we also formed something called as an interim government. And this interim government was in existence till 1952 when for the first time general elections were held in India. So the government before that was called as an interim government. Clear? That is what is an interim government. Write this down. It is a government which is formed. It is a government which is formed during a transitional phase of the history. Transitional phase of the history of the country. It lasts till a permanent arrangement. It lasts till a permanent arrangement is made. That is, permanent arrangement is made. That is, a constitution is formed and elections are held. A constitution is formed and elections are held. Next, minority government. Minority government. What is a minority government? Minority government is a government which does not enjoy the majority of the Lok Sabha by its own. And it still exists and continues because there are some political parties that are supporting the government or the political party from outside. Do you know what is the meaning of supporting from outside? It means these political parties have not decided to join the government. These political parties have not decided to join the government. They are supporting the government. They support the government so that the government can continue, but they do not participate in government, which means none of their leaders are the part of ministers. They do not become ministers. Like when we talk about Narasimha Rao, PV Narasimha Rao was able to carry out a minority government for 5 years. He the Congress party did not enjoy support, or was not enjoying the confidence of the Lok Sabha by its own. But the party was able to exist and continue as a part of Council of Ministers because there were some political parties that were supporting the government from outside, which means they were not participating in the government. They were not participating in the government in the form of ministers. Clear? This is what is called as minority government. Write this. It is a government that does not enjoy, it is the government that does not enjoy the confidence of the lower house, of the parliament, on its own, but survives with the support provided by political parties from outside the government. Next, coalition government. What is a coalition government? Yes. The difference between minority government and coalition government is that in minority government, the government is getting support from political parties from outside. They are not participating in the government. But when a coalition is formed, which means they tend to share ministries. They participate and they share ministries. They come to form the government with the support of each other. That is what is a coalition government. Like what happened in Maharashtra. That is an example of coalition government. Clear? Maha Agadi that was formed. That is an example of coalition government. Or you must have heard about something called as a third front. No, you must have heard about something called as a third front. This this third front politics that was there, it was something that came as a result of Janata Party. Now, Janata Party was formed in the the Indira Gandhi government led to a wide scale agitation by an individual called as JP, Jayaprakash Narayan. He started an agitation against the government. Because of his agitation, he frequently challenged Indira Gandhi, and during this particular period, Indira Gandhi was convicted by the Allahabad High Court for electoral frauds, but rather than resigning as the Prime Minister, she did what she called for a national emergency. That emergency remained for 2 years. During this particular period of 2 years, something called as a Janata Party was formed. That means there were a number of political parties that either existed or some individuals, they joined this political party, Janata Party. After the emergency was over, elections were held and Janata Party came to power. But what happened? Janata Party could not sustain power. The reason was there were many factions within the political party itself. Everyone wanted to become the Prime Minister. And what was the result of it? The result of it was when the government collapsed, there were number of factions that came up. Like today you must have heard about certain political parties calling them as in a way of a version of Janata Party, like RJD, Rashtriya Janata Dal, like JDU, Janata Dal United, like JDS, Janata Dal Secular in Karnataka. These were all the factions of Janata Party or the Janata rule, the Janata movement that came up. Clear? So you would find that all these political parties from time to time, they tend to do what? They tend to come up with something called as a third front. That is neither Congress nor BJP. We should have our own front which should confront these two political parties which have been dominating the political process in India. So that third front that is there. So sometimes you will find that they are able to make, sometimes they are able to actually form government. Like in different states, sometimes you will find that these political parties come to power. Like what happened in Bihar, when RJD and JDU came together to form government. That is an example of how third front government works. This is called as coalition government. When two political parties come together, decide to share seats in the ministry, they participate, both of them participate in the government, and then they enjoy power. That is a coalition government. When they do not participate, that is a minority government. Clear? Coalition government. Write down. It is formed by two or more political parties with some common goal to be achieved. It may or may not enjoy the confidence of the lower house, may not enjoy the confidence of the lower house on its own, come together and form a government. Next, national government. What is a national government? When there is no opposition. That means all the political parties have come together and they have formed the government. That kind of government is called as the national government. So either they do not have any opposition party, or the opposition party, when they are not very effective, that means they do not enjoy a majority, substantial amount of seats. What is formed is national government. The example of national government was in Britain in the World War II. During the World War II, when Churchill was the Prime Minister of UK, he was leading a national government. In fact, in India also, there have been some political circumstances wherein R. Venkatraman, he was the president during the 1990s. So during the 1990s, when India was facing political instability, so he had conceptualized an idea wherein there should be a national government that should be formed. Rather than these multiple factions and leading to political instability, leading to frequent elections, there should be a national government that should be formed, wherein one government under his leadership, every political party should support his leadership. He had conceptualized this idea, but it never materialized. Clear? This is what is a national government. It is a government in which all political parties or almost all political parties or almost all political parties that are represented in the parliament come together. Thus there is no opposition in the parliament. It is generally formed during a period of national crisis. Like when India has been at war, during that period, war efforts of the government, whatever efforts government takes up to ensure that they are able to fight that war, there you will find that there is no opposition. Like in 1971, when Bangladesh war happened, during that particular period, there is a story in which Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was the chief opponent, by that time he was a very vocal speaker and a critic of Indira Gandhi. He called Indira Gandhi Durga. एक स्टोरी है, हालांकि उन्होंने खुद डिनाई किया. He says that he did not call him, but it was mentioned in the paper as etc. So he called him. That is an example of what is the consequence of national government. There is no opposition. No one is going to oppose the government. That generally happens during national crisis, like Winston Churchill during the Second World War. Clear? With this, these are the types of government. So if you get a question in prelims examination, you will generally get question from these ideas and you can answer them. With this, we complete our discussion on the executive. That means I have not discussed till now the executive. Within executive itself, there are two bodies called as the Advocate General and the Comptroller and Auditor General. I will be discussing them later. Clear? Let's start with the next topic right now, that is the Parliament. Yes? Majority government. No, government means they are in majority. Clear? So when we say government, no, single party government, that is already, government is there. These are the variations of government. In India, what kind of government do we have as of today? Yes? National government. You cannot be more wrong if you say national government. See, we have a coalition government. Why? Because there is something called as NDA, National Democratic Alliance, National Democratic Alliance. And this coalition is basically forming the government. Yes, within this coalition, yes, one political party has majority, absolute majority, but still the government that is in existence is a coalition government. Basically, if you look at the political developments in India, you will find that political developments in India they have actually created a way for coming up of coalition government in India. So when post independence, when the elections were held for the first time, the Congress party emerged as the unquestionable leader. They enjoyed majority in the Lok Sabha. They also enjoyed majority in almost all of the states legislatures that were there, which continued till the fourth general elections. And in the fourth general elections, that is in 1967, the fourth general elections that happened, though the Congress party was able to retain the center, that is the Union Parliament, they were able to retain that by getting the most number of seats in the Lok Sabha, but they failed to retain almost 80% of the states. Because of various reasons, obviously there had been almost 20 years of India's independence had happened. There were number of, post-independence, what was the case? Post-independence, everyone thought that the Congress party that is there, because of the national movement, the manner in which the national movement was taken up, the basic principles that were there in the national movement, that those principles will be followed and the national movement would lead to that kind of development. And India always, we always had that aspiration that India will become a developed country within 15-20 years. But when we talk about development in India was marred by various factors. Now there were various factors that were that led to some kind of discontent among the people against the Congress party. Like when we talk about if we talk about the southern part of India, what happened in southern part of India was when Lal Bahadur Shastri came to power, he proposed Hindi as the national language, which was not something that was agreed upon by Nehru. So Nehru had in the Constituent Assembly itself, it said it was a decision that we will we will not take this decision right now, and we will postpone this decision to 15 years. So in the constitution you will always find that 1965 was considered to be the deadline, that okay, it is in 1965 that we are going to decide this. But Nehru was no more, Nehru passed away, and when Nehru passed away, when Jawaharlal Nehru passed away, the next Prime Minister was Lal Bahadur Shastri, and he wanted Hindi to become the national language. And there was a steer against this particular proposal of Lal Bahadur Shastri, and the southern states did not agree to it. So there was already a discontent that started in southern states. So by the 1960s, in the southern part of India, you will find that there were some political parties that came up, like parties such as DMK. This emerged because DMK 1950s, DMK came up in the late 1950s itself, but there were two basic provisions, and because of what Lal Bahadur Shastri actually proposed, it provided that kind of fuel to DMK. Why? Because DMK is a party that did what? That was anti-Brahminical. That Brahminical tradition that was there in the southern part of India, so it was against that. Now you see Karunanidhi, his son's name, एक का नाम स्टैलिन है, एक का नाम अल्लाहगिरी है. So you can see the name. That idea was something that was there, anti-Brahminical, and also they based their politics against this idea of anti-imposition of Hindi. Clear? Similarly, if you look at other parts of the country, like if you look at the northeastern part, in the northeast there was Jawaharlal Nehru did not agree to linguistic division of states. Initially, he did not agree to linguistic division of states. That created discontent in various parts of the country. Similarly, in the northeast, because of the kind of integration that happened, so there were a lot of states in the northeast which did not agree to this idea of India. So their politics was again different. Then in southern part of mainland India, that is, if you look at UP, etc., in these states, that domination, caste domination politics, it started. So coming up of political parties such as the BSP. No, I'm not just talking about 1960s, I'm talking about what happened post 1960s. And this what happened was all of this contributed to, in 1967, all these factors contributed to the kind of disagreement that was there. Like in the state of Haryana, there was no Haryana, there was only one state, Punjab, and the language was different. This language was different. There was issues with respect to division of water, etc., all of this created kind of dissent against the Congress party. And that is the reason why in 1967, when it came to the state politics, so some political parties which were based either on, they had a very parochial basis. They did not have the national outlook. They had some parochial basis, like some of them came up on the basis of language. Some of them were caste-based politics. They started taking up caste-based politics. Some of the political parties were against this linguistic idea. So their politics was different. Their dissent was there was something that created. Farmer politics started. There were during 1960s, because the Green Revolution had not started. India was not a self-dependent in terms of food grains. India was not a self-dependent country. So famines were something that was very regular in India. So there was farmer politics that started. So Western UP, Punjab, Haryana, there, and you will find there are some political parties that you will see, like a government called, right now in Haryana elections, you will find that there is a political party called as JJP, which is under the came in coalition with the BJP. But that political party, the Chautalas, etc., that are there, they were basically their no, their legacy, it started with Devilal. And who was Devilal? Devilal was a farmer basically. So farmer politics. Ajit Singh in UP. Because of various dissents, what happened was India's political system changed. That domination of Congress was broken in 1967. But the Congress party still continued to be in power in the parliament till 1989. That is, there was for a brief period. Post the emergency, 1977 elections happened, Janata Party came to power. Why? Obviously, there was a dissent against the Congress party for imposing emergency. But Janata Party could not remain in power. It was there for a brief period, 2 years, somewhere around 2 years. Elections happened, Indira Gandhi returned back to power. So, this politics of Congress continued till 1989. What happened in 1989? Bofor's case led to the VP Singh, who was the then defense minister. He accused Rajiv Gandhi that you were involved. He split from the Congress party and contested election in this background. No political party gets. For the first time in India in 1980, the general elections that were held in 1989, no political party was able to do what? Was able to get majority in the Lok Sabha. Now, this has also, the background of it was laid in 1967. So this 22 years, that is 1967 to 1989, what happened during this period? During this particular period, these political parties, these regional political parties that were there, they had consolidated their position in states. So DMK had enough position in the in Tamil Nadu, similarly BSP, similarly S Samajwadi Party, RJD, all these political parties that were there, they had consolidated their position in the state. So yes, the Samajwadi Party will not get on its own. They will not get majority in the Lok Sabha, but they will get what? They will get a key number of seats, 40 seats, 50 seats. So they had consolidated their position, and with this consolidation of position, what happened was the coalition politics came into existence. So these political parties started, which were actually state parties. They did not have that national outlook, but these political parties, they started playing an important role. Where? They started playing an important role in the national politics. If you remember, I did say Mulayam Singh Yadav was about to become the Prime Minister of India. So how come he, being the Prime Minister of India, he was, he did not have any reach in terms of his political party outside UP. But see, he was about to become the Prime Minister of India. Similarly was the case with certain political parties in Bihar also. Even Lalu Prasad Yadav thought that one day will come when he'll become the Prime Minister of India. Similarly, H.D. Devgowda became the Prime Minister of India. So by this 22 years that was there between 1967 and 89, during this particular period, there was consolidation of political position from these regional parties. And these, what you can say, the political parties which did not have a national outlook. And they started enjoying power. These political parties, they were enjoying power. UPA 1 government, RJD, they had somewhere around 30 odd seats in Bihar, only in Bihar. But Lalu Prasad Yadav was a part of railway. He was a railway minister. He was a part of cabinet. There was a time when these political parties, they started enjoying power, and post 1989, it was difficult to imagine that it is, ever it is going to happen that in India, there will be a time wherein one political party will ever be again able to get majority. Because this is what has happened in UK also. Initially in UK, the politics was such that there was one political party who used to get majority. But this tradition was broken. And then since then onwards, that means it has been last 60, 70, 80 years. If you look at the politics of UK, you will find that there has not been even one Prime Minister who is able to, or even one political party who is able to get majority by its own. It has always been a coalition government. So we thought that we are in that process, moving towards that, wherein now coalition government has become a reality and only coalition government will be formed from now onwards. But in 2014, this tradition was broken. This tradition was broken in 2014 when BJP by itself was able to get or secure majority in the Lok Sabha. And this continued in 2019 when they surpassed their previous tally and was able to get more number of seats. It does not mean that coalition politics is over. No, you can get this question also. In the background of single party achieving majority in the Lok Sabha, can we decisively say that in India coalition politics is over? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you can see the example of the importance of coalition politics in Maharashtra. That how, because one political party was not able to retain his ally. So the ally joined some other coalition and was able to surpass the government or the political party which still has the largest number of seats. It still has the largest number of seats. BJP has 105 seats there. So it still has the largest number of seats, but they were able to surpass that. That is also something that happened in Karnataka. That is also something that happened in, the importance of coalition politics can be seen even in what happened in Bihar when RJD and JDU came together and defeated the BJP. So the coalition politics is not over, because the role that it plays in states, it still stands. The role that it plays, it still stands. Clear? And also this phenomena, that is one party getting majority, we have two terms in which a political party has got majority cannot be said to be the decisive trend. We need to wait. We need to see what happens next. We also need to see, at least 2 more terms. And if in 2 more terms we find that there is only one political party that is able to secure majority by itself, only then we can decisively say that coalition politics in India may not necessarily be that important, at least when it comes to the national government, because in states it will always be. Clear? Have you understood this idea? See, this is the political development. You should know these ideas. So, in terms of political news, you should follow Rajya Sabha, you should follow Lok Sabha, because they come up with some very good programs. And you can that knowing such instances and such incidents, actually, if you use it in your essays and if you use it in your answers, that can be very substantive. Not always, but some questions you can definitely substantiate your answers by writing this. Clear? So you can use it in your essays, etc. So next is the parliament. Next we start with the parliament. The parliament in India comprises of the president and Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So if you get a question in your prelims examination, the answer is these 3 bodies. Don't just write Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Even the president, though he is not the member of parliament, he is an integral part of the parliament. What is the chief role that the parliament has? Legislation, lawmaking. Lawmaking. So if you look at the chief function of the parliament is to enact laws, lawmaking or enactment of laws. However, this is not the only role that the parliament takes up. The Parliament of India is also considered to be a platform. It is also considered to be a platform on which the representatives The representatives, they discuss, debate and deliberate on issues that concern the people. These three Ds, they are the three Ds of democracy. Which means the Parliament of India is it is what you can say, it is a body through which democracy actually works in India. The Parliament also is a body which holds the Council of Ministers accountable for their action, which means it is the Parliament which exercises political and financial control over the Council of Ministers. Political and financial control over the Council of Ministers. Political control. Article 75 clause 3. What does it say? What does it say? Collective responsibility. It talks about collective responsibility. So the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Clear? Similarly, financial control through various mechanisms. The chief mechanism here is Article 265. Article 265, which says what? It says that any money that is to be withdrawn from any of the funds of Government of India, it cannot be appropriated without an authority of the law. It cannot be appropriated means used, withdrawn. It cannot be appropriated without the authority of a law. So even 1 rupee that has to be spent by the Council of Ministers, the executive, even that 1 rupee is spent with the authority of the Parliament. So Parliament exercises not just political control. Political control can also be seen in this manner. They debate, discuss and deliberate upon issues. So there are various questions that are asked from the Council of Ministers. There will be various questions that are asked. There will be various debates. There will be various discussions. There will be every law that is enacted, they will be properly scrutinized. Every action that is taken, they are properly scrutinized through this mechanism of 3 Ds. That is what is democracy. And that is the reason why I said this is the 3 Ds of democracy. And it is done where? Not outside the Parliament. It is done within the Parliament. And hence Parliament Parliament becomes the chief authority or the chief body which exercises control over the Council of Ministers. Clear? So Parliament is not only a law-making body. Parliament also has a function to do what? Parliament also has a function to control or exercise proper accountability, ensure proper accountability of the Council of Ministers. Clear? Now we have already discussed the office of the President. Let's start first with Rajya Sabha. Give us a heading, right? Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha, is it a constitutional body? Is Rajya Sabha a constitutional body? Yes, obviously it is. Okay. Article 80 of the Constitution talks about the Rajya Sabha. in brackets write Article 80. Rajya Sabha basically is what? It is an indirectly elected body, and it has two kinds of members. Rajya Sabha has two kinds of members, elected and nominated. The maximum strength that is prescribed by the Constitution is 238 elected members and 12 nominated members. The maximum strength of the Rajya Sabha currently that is prescribed by the Constitution is 250. Currently, what is the number of maximum members who are elected? 233. 12 are nominated, which means the current strength is 245. The current strength is 245. How are these members elected? These members are indirectly elected. These members are indirectly elected. How are they indirectly elected? By the legislature, the state legislature, more appropriately the state legislative assembly. The state legislative assembly, the members of the state legislative assembly, they elect the members of the Rajya Sabha through the use of or by the mechanism of proportional representation and through the instrument of single transferable vote. Single transferable vote. This election that happens, this is through open ballot. Since 2005, open ballot system has been introduced. Open ballot system has been introduced. Unlike, if you look at the Constitution prescribes for closed ballot. That means I cannot be forced anywhere else. I cannot be forced to reveal whom I have voted for. Okay, when you go, no, if you ever have voted, you know that around that EVM you will find there is a, no one is allowed to view whom you are voting for. Why? Because it is a closed ballot system. In Rajya Sabha, it is not closed ballot, it is open ballot. And elections are taken up in such a manner that every 2 years, 1/3 of the members, they complete their tenure. Every 2 years, 1/3 of the members, they complete their tenure. Tenure of a member elected to Rajya Sabha is 6 years, not 5 years, it is 6 years. Rajya Sabha is not dissolved. This body is not dissolved. Clear? This is where I end today. Why open ballot? What is the case there? What is the basis of it? What are special powers of the Rajya Sabha? Why is it called as a federal body? Why is it, is it a federal body or not? What is the constitutional status of the Rajya Sabha? This is the remaining discussion which I will be taking up in the next class. Thank you.